Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. Well, they did it here in Oklahoma with Senate Bill 612. They pretty much outlawed abortion here for the whole state of Oklahoma. So there's a bill, Senate Bill 612, and it passed the Senate. Now this bill has a lot of different authors. It has Nathan Dahm, of course, one of our favorites here. And he's the main author, of course. And then there's others, Jett, who else? Bullard, Stevens, and Rogers of the Senate. And it's also endorsed on the representative side by our favorite other big conservative government conservative, Jim Olson. So he's on the representative side. Well, this passed through the Senate. Now it's passed through the House. And it got voted on Tuesday. And the curious thing was, that very morning that they took this vote, there was already planned a protest against all these abortion bills. So the Republicans in the Senate decided, we're going to vote on it right before, like minutes before this protest was getting ready to take off. They voted on this bill. And it was totally designed to take away from the protest that was going on. Totally designed to take away from them, take away from their speech and everything else they were doing, because, you know, these conservatives, they really don't like that stuff. They don't like it when people they disagree with exercise their rights and freedoms, because conservatives really don't like rights and they really don't like freedoms, unless it's theirs. Now, and there's a big reason why. It's a psychology thing, and pretty much conservatives believe they're the real Americans. They're the patriots, you see, and everybody else isn't, and their rights and their protections of law are all subject to their whims, you see, subject to the conservatives' whims. And that's exactly what we have here. So they did this deal. They put this vote in this on the morning, and they were having the protest. But the funniest thing about this was the cowardice that was involved, because Jim Olson came out to the media when they asked, hey, there was a protest going on, and it's just kind of curious that you guys all of a sudden decided to do this right minutes before this protest was going to kick off. And so you would think that a conservative, they planned this, would be like, yeah, man, that was our goal. We came in. It was going to, frustrate those liberals and those progressives and their abortion ways by getting this in there and cutting them off. Yeah, that's a great political strategy. And it probably is. But Jim Olson, what he said, you know what he said? You think he took credit for that? Oh no, he didn't. He was like, oh, we didn't know that. We didn't design it to do that at all. No, not us. In just the most cowardly of ways, because that's really one of the things that I'm thinking about here. Jim Olson is a complete coward, because here you are, you had this brilliant strategy, I guess, to do this vote to really take away and diminish the voice of the opposition, and yet here you are not even going to be proud of your accomplishment. You're going to tuck your tail and retreat to a different position, saying how, we didn't design it to do that. That's cowardice. That's what that is. Jim Olson, well, that's what I think. I mean, that was pretty cowardly to come out and just not take credit for what you do like that. That's weak. That shows weakness. That shows you tucking your tail and being all up and in your face about it, and then when somebody asks you about it, you're like, oh, no, we're not doing that at all. And that's Jim Olson for you. But even at that, what's really worse about this is we have a bill that passed the Senate, and now it's passed the House of Representatives. And here we go. It's going to go to the desk of the governor, and he's going to sign it. The most restrictive abortion law in the nation. Oh, hey, isn't that a conservative talking point? And I'm not sure why this is a good talking point, because basically what conservatives are saying is, you know what? We hate that Constitution, so we're going to defy it by writing these laws that will be challenged, and we'll take it and pay all the taxpayer money to defend it and take it all the way to the Supreme Court. Well, that makes sense in a way. In a lot of ways that makes sense, right? Because they think they own the court. They really do. And which is amazing, because when you look at what happened with Mrs. Brown, who is going to be nominated as the next Supreme Court Justice, Chuck Grassley came out, and just about as cowardly as you could think Olson could do it, and came out talking about and crying about these liberal dark money groups. These liberal dark money groups were supporting this candidate. Oh my God, they spent $7 million in dark money supporting this candidate. And the funniest thing is, the dark money group that supported Kavanaugh, the dark money group that supported Barrett and Gorsuch, they spent millions on them. Well, guess what? They also spent $15.5 million in opposition to Mrs. Brown, a dark money conservative group. But do you think Chuck Grassley's crying about them? Nah, he's crying about the liberal dark money group. These guys played by the same rules. And that's Chuck Grassley. Big old crying fit about these dark money groups, these liberal dark money groups are playing by the same rules we're playing by. And so Winehouse comes out there and says, oh, hey, by the way, I got the Disclose Act that's been trying to pass for years now. Glad you're on board. Glad you're on board. So I expect you to help me vote for this and get it through, because I'll tell you exactly that's not going to happen. Because, see, dark money groups, they favor conservatives. They favor conservatives. They have the money. That's where they get it all. So Chuck Grassley crying about dark money liberal groups helping justice and saying how that's harming our democracy is just pretty laughable, if not totally cowardly. And it goes beyond hypocrisy. Of course, I mean, it'd be hypocrisy to just do one thing and say another, of course, like Chuck Grassley's doing, but to come out in a big old drama fit where you need to get the feigning couch because you're about to have the vapors over left-wing dark money groups, well, that goes beyond hypocrisy to pretty much cowardice. And that's what we're talking about right here with this bill, Senate Bill 612. Because that's what we get. We get a big old bag of conservative cowardice in the way of conservative big government. Because all these guys, Jett, Dom, Rogers, and Stevens, and especially Olson, these are big conservative government guys. They love big conservative government. I've talked about Olson before. That medical marijuana stuff, he hates it. He hates that 65% of the Oklahomans wanted this. That's a major majority of people. So, but you know, he's conservative. So, doesn't matter anybody else. He's the conservative, and we got to control everything, and that's what this is all about. Control. Power and control. Doesn't matter if you have 66% plus, a supermajority that wants something. Not to Jim Olson. What matters is Jim Olson and his conservative buddies. See, conservatives, they're the real Americans. That's what matters. All these other people aren't. And that's exactly what Jim Olson thinks. So you get a bill like Senate Bill 612, which says, hey, abortion shall be illegal unless the mother is seriously ill or the baby's going to kill her in some way. That's it. Of course, you're probably wondering, hey, what about rape? What about incest? What about all that stuff? Well, no. Can't have an abortion. If some conservative right-winger wants to harass a liberal family and rape their 14-year-old daughter to get them pregnant, well, you can't have an abortion. She's going to have to carry that conservative rapist kid to term. So that's exactly what this law is designed to do, stuff like that. It doesn't do anything for rape or incest. None of that. Because also, Jim Olson, I don't know if you know, but I did another show where this guy put out a bill making child marriage legal. So you can marry off your 14-year-old daughter who just got pregnant from, whoever. And that's Jim Olson for you. And that's pretty much why he's against stuff like abortion. Really, you know what it is? It's his religion. See, he's a real big time religious conservative. And as we know, social conservative is big government. And that's where this all comes from. See, he's a real big evangelical guy, right? He wants to make sure everybody has Jesus in their house. And that's this kind of guy he is. And if you don't have Jesus in your house, well, that's okay. I'm going to make laws to make sure you live by my Christian mantra and dogma anyway. See, so we're all covered. And he doesn't have to worry his anxious little mind out about some God who's going to destroy the earth because he's got all these personality flaws, I guess. So that's Jim Olson for you. That's kind of the craziness we get out of this guy. And this bill. And this saying that we're going to pass it right before all these protests because we didn't know it was going on. And that's Jim Olson. But the other thing about this bill is if a doctor is caught giving an abortion, he can suffer up to 10 years in prison and a $100,000 fine. And the woman, I don't know, it doesn't say much about the woman, but I imagine she could be culpable to, can't even say that word. She could get in trouble too from this. So, yeah, but it doesn't say much about what the woman's condition is. Of course, it also says that, hey, if a woman has a miscarriage, then she's not going to be subject to this law either. But are you going to have to prove you didn't have a miscarriage? Which is so opposite of our justice system. It's innocent until proven guilty. So what they're going to do is they're going to assume she's guilty, and you're going to have to prove that you miscarried the kid and didn't have it aborted or do it yourself abortingly. Didn't grab a clothes hanger, right? Because really what this is going to do, it's still going to make people get abortions. People are still going to have abortions. They're going to do it. They're just going to do it illegally. And those with the money are going to be able to go to other places where it's legal and get it done. If you have the money, you can still do this. If you don't, you're not. And that's basically what this is. It's on class as well. But that's a conservative thing. They all know that. And that's how they do it, see, because they see certain classes, certain types of people, and certain way people are, their lifestyles or whatever else, as an affront to them that needs to be attacked. And these people oppose us anyway, so we need to destroy them as best we can. You see it with the LGBTQ legislation that even Olson has been putting in. You see it with the Disney cancel culture that's going on right now with the conservatives. How they hate Disney. How Jackson came out saying Minnie's wearing a penis on her shirt. Really? That's what he said. I'm visualizing stuff. I don't know where he comes up with this crazy stuff, but this is all lines into that. So you got this Senate Bill 612 that's going to be signed into law, and it's going to keep Oklahomans from being able to get abortions. No abortions will be able to be performed in Oklahoma, which is unconstitutional. We've been through this. And all this is going to do is spend a bunch of taxpayer money to defend a law that's going to be overturned. I don't care what they think. I know they think there's enough conservatives on the bench, this will stay. But that's not how all that happens. That's not how all that works. And they think they're going to be able to pressure these people on the court to do their bidding, because that's how they think they've set it up with the Heritage Foundation. And other groups, like the group that's attacking Mrs. Jackson and her nomination to the Supreme Court, like that dark money group. It's the same deal. It's all the same ball of wax, you see. And so they think they're going to be able to save this all through the Supreme Court, and we're going to kill abortion that way. Because, see, they gamed the bench. They did exactly what they're accusing Democrats of trying to do. They did the same thing. They're playing by the same rules. You saw Chuck Grassley crying about it, like the pansy he is. And so we get this Senate Bill 612. So draconian. There was a bill like this during Mary Fallon's tenure, and Mary Fallon didn't sign it. Wow, Mary Fallon. Who would think that today we'd be like, wow, Mary Fallon, how corrupt she was. And now we see what corruption really looks like with Kevin Stitt. It's kind of a different one, though, because Mary Fallon didn't have money. Kevin Stitt has money, see. But what Kevin Stitt wants is power and control. And how he gets that is with the money. See, he has the purse strings. Hey, man, you want this money? Well, then I need something done. See? And that's how this works. Oh, you want this money? How much money did you give to this dark money group that supports our causes? Or my leadership PAC? Or these other PACs? Or my campaign? Or the OK GOP? Did you give money to them? Because that may make me, a little more likable to your side of things if you do something like that. And I'm pretty sure that's what happens on a regular basis, especially with Kevin Stitt, you see, because that's what he uses. He uses that money as power and control, and that's what he does. And it's going to be the same thing with this. Here we've got this bill. It's going to be passed into law. You're not going to be able to get an abortion in Oklahoma. Women are going to go to jail because they had a miscarriage. It's going to happen. Doctors are going to be fined. Everything else, even if it's to save the life of the mother, there will still be an investigation. Doctor could still be arrested and charged, even if he may be produced as innocent later. But that's what we got with this wild bill that's going to be law. This is a reform that's going to be ugly. And it's designed to go after people conservatives hate. See? Well, that's what they think anyway. Because I will guarantee you, when it comes to abortion, I'll bet conservatives have them as much, maybe even more than liberals do. Because see, a liberal will use contraception. We understand what it is, and a conservative won't. So I'd like to see the polls on that. Who is more likely to get an abortion? You know what? I bet it's more upper middle class, conservative leaning people. I bet and conservatives do this. They stick themselves in the foot all the time because they come out with these deceptions, see? Because like they say, always accuse the other side of what you're doing, and they do that. And then they do that, and then they whip their people up, and they go, oh, well, we're going to make legislation against this. And then they do, and then later they realize just how that harmed their own people. And then they want to accuse the Democrats of not stopping them from harming their own people. God, why did the Democrats stop us? They could have been there to keep us from doing this. They should have been the opposition party, and they weren't. And that's what conservatives do after they, tell the liberal and the Democrat that they're un-American, not citizens with rights and protections of law, that we should be the opposition party and hold them back from doing crazy and unconstitutional, un-American, and unfreedom-like things. Actually, no, man, I'm not there to do that. I'm actually here to point it out every time they go too far. I'm here to give them the rope so that they really hang themselves with it. And then we can really put that on display. That's where I'm at with this. I'm not for saving a conservative at all. Those people, they don't want to save me. And as a matter of fact, they want to harm me. They want to harm me, an American citizen, a citizen of Oklahoma. They actually want to do me harm. They want to take my wealth. They do. They've even said this to me. It is because of the basic truth that I went down and checked the box for Democrat on my voter registration. And that's where we are today. Conservatism today, Senate Bill 612, going after abortion, making abortion illegal in Oklahoma, a 10-year sentence, a $100,000 fine, no provisions for incest or rape, and barely any protections at all, even if it was a legitimate need to abort this thing because the mother may die. Or even if, hey man, there was a car wreck and I'm working on a pregnant mom and she lost a baby, wow. What about that? There's no really good provisions. This thing's only a page and a half long. That's it. There's really no protections of anything in it. It's so draconian. It's so outlandish. It's so wildly big government conservative that it blows your mind. Well, this is Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild, and we'll see you next week.